So, is your garden a hedgehog haven? This is a question that's been posed to us online by Hedgehog Street, and today you're joining as Hedgehog's Hollow goes through its paces in the Garden Challenge. Hello there, welcome to Hedgehog's Hollow, the land here at the bottom of my garden. This is the channel for people passionate about hedgehogs who want to invite them into their garden and then once they're there, support them here at the bottom of the garden. And if you are one of those people passionate about hedgehogs, then perhaps you already know about Hedgehog Street. It's an organisation here in the UK which is a collaboration between the British Hedgehog Preservation Society and the People's Trust for Endangered Species. Hedgehog Street are celebrating their 10th birthday this year, and as part of that celebration they've just put up a Hedgehog Haven Garden Challenge. And I figured that what would it be if Hedgehog Hollow did not participate in the Garden Challenge. So today we're going to be going through the Garden Challenge. It has 6 questions. We'll be completing each of them and then going through the results. So here we go, the Hedgehog Street Hedgehog Garden Challenge. I'll put a link to this page in the video description below, but there's 6 questions. We'll go through each of them and then analyze our results. The first question handles access to the garden and has 3 options, and here I'm going to choose that there's a gap that the hedgehog could squeeze through, because we've got the gap underneath the side fence gate. I don't have a solidly fenced or walled garden. There is at least one gap, and unfortunately there's no hedgehog highways. The second question talks about foraging, and here I am going to go for the lawn is nice and tidy and mowed regularly in the summer. I don't have a mix of long and short grass, but I also don't have an entirely paved or gravelled garden or artificial grass. So number 2 is answer number 2. Question number 3 deals with nesting, and here I can go mad because not only are there actually lots of possible nesting sites, I'm going for option 2, where I have homemade or shop bought hog houses which I can put in straw and dried leaves. So I'm going for that option here. Question 4 talks about other wildlife features the garden might have, and in fact I have not specifically a log pile, but I do have some decaying logs and wood in the area, as well as you would have seen previously my leaf pile. So I'm going for a couple of these. I certainly don't have them all. On to question number 5, and we're talking about supplementary feeding. And so here there are a couple of options. In fact, there are 4 options, and I am going for option 1. I leave supplementary food out for the hedgehogs, like cat or dog food. And finally, question number 6 talks about my gardening habits and specifically my use of chemicals in the garden. And here it's a very easy answer. I welcome all critters into my garden and I don't use any chemicals. So we submit the results, and very quickly Hedgehog Street give us our answers, and Hedgehog's Hollow scored 11 out of 15, which is a positive score from their perspective. It looks like we are a hedgehog haven, but there are a few more things that Hedgehog Street is advising we can do, so let's go through those now. So on the topic of access, I'm sure that the top scoring result would have been the one about having a hedgehog highway. And here you can see the access hole that I do have is just a small gap under the gate. And of course, there's always a warm welcome available to the hedgehogs. But there's Walter coming through that access under the side gate. Perhaps controversially, I don't have any hedgehog highways throughout the garden, but there are reasons for that, because the neighbouring gardens that I butt onto are not necessarily most suitable gardens for hedgehogs. They either have dogs or they have vast areas of artificial grass or gravel and paved area, and so I've chosen not at the moment to have any hedgehog highways. However, in the summer, I do want to get a little bit of community project going and increase awareness of the hedgehogs in our area. So at that point, getting the neighbours talking, we might improve the quality of the surrounding gardens, not just around my garden, but throughout the area. So question number 2 talked about foraging, and here you can see one of those options was around the artificial grass or the gravelled and patioed area. Well, I don't have that. I've got currently long grass because it's winter, but in the summer it is trimmed down. But you can see that outside the hedgehog houses that I've got, I do provide a lot of bedding and nesting material. So even though I don't have long grass per the actual answers of the survey, I actually do compensate for that by providing the hedgehogs with bedding material that they can collect up and fill their houses with. Question number 3 was all about nesting, and even though I may not have any natural areas for the hedgehogs to find nesting and shelter, I do have at last count 4 hedgehog houses throughout the garden, and I have provided nesting material for them to fill those houses with. And as you know, we've had 2 hedgehogs overwintering with us in the garden, so I feel comfortable that I am doing a good job providing nesting and accommodation spaces for the hedgehogs. Question 4 was all about other wildlife features. Now, I said that I've got some decaying logs, which is great for encouraging other bugs and little invertebrates that the hedgehogs will have as a natural food source. So throughout the garden, I've got a few of these natural logs, and that is boosting my overall wildlife or ecosystem of the garden. Things like wildlife ponds and compost heaps are also other great places for attracting bugs and invertebrates that provide hedgehogs with a natural food source. And talking about food, item number 5 was about, do you then provide supplementary food? Well, yes, I do, in the form of a feeding station, which I built during the autumn. I have the feeding station, and both Walter and Ollie have made good use of that feeding station. Not listed in the survey actually, but very important is a good supply of clean and fresh water for hedgehogs. Hedgehogs are incredibly thirsty and can dehydrate very quickly. So not just providing supplemental food, but ensuring that there's a good, clean, constantly refreshed source of fresh water is equally important for hedgehogs. And then lastly, chemical hazards. This is talking about my gardening habits, and do I use any kind of chemicals? Well, absolutely not throughout the garden, and especially things like slug pellets. The whole point is that the hedgehog is one part of a garden wildlife ecosystem, and I don't want to introduce any poisons or any kind of chemicals within that ecosystem to disrupt it. I've got a lot of different invertebrates and other little bugs and beasts living in the garden, and I want to encourage them all and not impact any of those or the ecosystem as a whole with the use of chemicals. Well, 11 out of 15. I guess that's not necessarily a brilliant result for Hedgehog's Hollow, but at the same time I know that there are some other things that I'm doing in the garden that aren't necessarily listed on the survey. But how did your garden do? Did you take the challenge? And if so, do let me know what your score was in the comments below. And if you're keen on improving your result and you haven't yet necessarily looked at the video I've got all about attracting hedgehogs into your garden, then do please have a look at that one. It's got some great information there about how you can improve your garden and make it more accommodating. Until next Thursday, from myself, Mike, you take care.